It's 2020, and with live events going virtual all over the world, we at Wacom issued a unique artistic challenge. We gathered portfolios from across the Americas, selected 8 student artists, and split them into 2 teams, giving them a Wacom 1, some pro animation software, and 7 days to create a 45-second animated short. And everything done remotely. This is Cartoon Crunch. All right, welcome everybody to day 4. This is the morning briefing. Yesterday we had a little bit of trouble, but you guys had a chance to finish up all of the work that you had acquired and accumulated from day 1 and day 2. So far, how was that day? Just to work uninterrupted with each other on their teams.
A bit confused.
A lot of work.
A lot of work on different aspects.
Yeah, how did it go for you, Team West?
I think it went well. Yeah.
We got a chance to really refine our story and get the little details worked out, so we're ready for animation.
Yeah.
Good, because animation is going to be the subject of today. Now, I want you guys to take your animatics that you've made and break them out into scenes with scene numbers and good tracking, so you guys will be able to know where your animation is headed production-wise. So you have your scene 1 all the way to the end, and you're able to track them one by one and see whether they're going from animatic to rough animation to color to post. Okay? So get all that taken care of. Make sure that you have everything broken up properly. And then this afternoon, we're going to have a guest mentor, a professional animator who's a good friend of mine. So get going. And I know it's getting into the stretch here. So have fun today, and it's time to crunch.
When is
Let's
it?
go.
Let's do it.
All right, welcome back, teams. How are you doing?
Great.
Great. You guys are all ready to start heading into animation, I hope?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So you've had the morning to sort of finalize things. I've seen a lot of chatter on our little Slack chat, and a little bit of animation from Team West, and that's really cool. We talked this morning, Team East, a little bit about your film. Hopefully everything got in good order, and you guys are feeling great about it.
Yeah, it's close. It's close
Yeah.
to making that.
We're getting there.
Okay, cool. So it is guest mentor time. And as such, our guest mentor today was first hired at Disney through their summer internship program and began a 14-year career at Disney Feature Animation, bringing to life characters such as Frollo from Hunchback of Notre Dame, Shan Yu from Mulan and the Huns, Stitch from Lilo and Stitch, Coda from Brother Bear, and many others. Then he has gone on in his career to do a lot of various different things in the production pipeline. And in recent years, Travis has grown into the role of a mentor and educator for up-and-coming artists in this industry, such as yourselves. As a founder of Sketch to Animate, he is currently pursuing his passion for developing new and original stories, teaching everyone exactly why he believes that cartoons are so awesome. So everybody, please welcome Mr. Travis Blaise.
Yay.
Welcome.
Yay! Wow, what an intro. Okay, so what do we got going on today, guys?
So these fine teams here have some animatics for you to look at and possibly a little bit of animation. So, all right. So Team
Moving
West, let's have you guys click out for a minute while we talk with Team East.
So let's take a look at what you guys have. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and play it, and let's take a listen. I don't know if you can hear it or not.
Nah, there's no sound.
Okay.
Yet.
Okay. So this is awesome. So what I'm getting from the gist of it, not even knowing and seeing anything, is that she's basically trying to bring back the love of her life, who's passed, who has since passed, who is also a wizard or a witch. Maybe she's a witch and he's a wizard. And she's thought maybe she put too much in and then not enough. And then she started putting more stuff in until finally he comes out, but he's coming out as a skeleton alive. Or is he, the question for me is he alive still, but just as a skeleton zombie, or is he not alive and she thinks he is? It's just sort of all in her head. That's the question I have.
It always seemed to come up, but when we were talking about it, it'd be like, he just has kind of the zombie mentality of like, ugh, kind of sitting there. So he's not really super active, but she's kind of happy he's back either way.
Okay,
And
so
actually-
he is the undead, if you will. He's not just like, he comes out and he's still just a skeleton and she thinks he's alive, but he's really not.
Yeah, so that
After all that effort.
We're hoping with the smoke, it can be like, we think he's all like flesh and bone, she did it. And then as like kind of the smoke clears, we see like, wah wah, like he ends up kind of coming back, not fully alive, but she's just happy to kind of have him back.
Yeah, the
Well,
color
it'd be-
make him he's very all like zombie greens and stuff too. Like his skin does not look healthy.
Well, the great thing is this is an animatic, so there's a lot of liberties, and it is clear enough for me. I'm just gonna let's just play it one more time, and we'll kind of talk through it here. I'm just trying to think of in terms of animation. So you got a lot of time, and this is a great thing here. I'm just gonna pause this for a second. One of the great things about storytelling with animation is you've got a great opening shot. Everything that you do is important for your story. Every element you put into it, because remember, you're making this up. So everything is what you want the viewer to see that helps you in telling your story. So if you don't have words, you have layouts. What does this layout tell us about this person? Now, I notice on down below, the ye old paper, is that supposed to be him as a human?
Yeah.
It might be, just in terms of final composition, maybe bring that up a little bit more. Maybe be a little bit more clear that it's in the picture so people can read that. So it's sort of a foreshadowing of who we're leading up to that she's trying to salvage. Maybe there might be more things about him that are in this layout that are important, storytelling aspects. I always say this to people, one of the best opening scenes to any movie is the first Back to the Future. It literally tells you the entire story before the story happens for the next hour and a half. So if you paid close attention to the opening sequence, it's gonna all make sense when you watch the story. And it's a great way of showing, and not a lot of talking. It's more showing and telling a story without words, like things that could lead into the final, which is basically her right there. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is, and I think you would have time, because it's just one single layout. It's just a singular drawing that's telling a lot of your story. You've got a woman who's desperately trying to make this concoction. You can keep it limited to her just stirring it, but the key thing to animation and storytelling is our character desperate? Is she desperately trying to bring him back to life? Is she at that final moment where this is it for her? If she doesn't make this happen, she's depressed, right? She wants her old lover back. So if you're going to do a simple animation style, a cycle, just a symbol cycle that will economize on your time, what is her attitude when she's doing it? Is she frantically looking at the thing like, oh, okay, this is going to work, this is going to work, this is going to work? What can we tell the audience about her? Because it's 48 seconds. So basically, you need within the first 3 to 5 seconds, the first time you see her, we got to know who she is. She's desperate. She's making a recipe that she's trying to bring something back to life. or even if we don't know she's bringing back something back to life, we're going to figure that out as we move on. But does that make sense so far?
Totally.
I would say in here, you know, you have stars and the moon chairs. So obviously those are things that are of importance because there's 2 chairs and 1 person. Again, layout is very, very important. And this goes back to, I don't know if this is going to be Casey's role in this part or not, but to really consider that. And also your style, when you guys are animating, keep it a simple, flat style. Don't go overdo it with the layouts. If you can keep it, because for time's sake, I don't know what your art direction is on this. That's why when you're doing shorts, the more you can put into your boards, and you can just use the boards as your roughs, the better you're going to be with accomplishing your goal. That's another thing. So when I see this layout, I'm also seeing it as this is a rough comp to the final. This part here, one of the things, you have a direct cut. When you have direct cuts like this, either you do it as sort of a wipe across dissolve, so it feels like it's time has passed, because right now it feels like a kind of a jump cut, a weird cut, where she's stirring and now she's dropping something in. Try to find a creative solution to going from her stirring to maybe reaching for something as she's stirring. Yeah, either if you don't hook up the shot, you got to set it up that you're time lapsing, that you're doing an interesting cross dissolve from what she's doing there to the next thing, which is she's adding a new ingredient. You know, you know how when we watch YouTube and you see like Babish cooking, you know, he jumps from one thing to another, and they do a lot of cut editing where they're jumping from one thing to the next, but there's a flow to it. Right now, it doesn't feel like a flow. So my suggestion would be, as this person's stirring, at the last minute, have her reach and grab, and it could be from behind the pot. You don't even have to, just as long as she's stirring and then she grabs with the right hand behind the pot, she lifts up the eyeball and then cut. Once she cuts, bam, then you just drop the eyeball in, which I think is a cool, see, that's a cool cross dissolve right there that I'm talking about, like a nice wipe. You've got a pretty solid animatic for what you guys have done in just 4 days. So again, I'm pretty excited that we can even have these discussions. Like, you have a clear thought, like I knew exactly what you wanted to do, and that's half the battle. Like, now this is just like housekeeping, cleaning things up, tightening things up, figuring out where your animation is going to be. The popping of the bubble, like I would almost have this thing come in and drop the way it does, and maybe you have an opportunity here to do some effects if you have the time, where you have bubbles on either side. As soon as that thing drops in, why not have the bubbles come up and cover the page, and that's your wipe. That's your cross dissolve into the next thing, where when you see the bubble here in this shot, it's bubbling up, and then you see the popping. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have that popping coming up. So from there, she's in I noticed that you had her originally behind.
Yeah, she was like,
However,
originally she was like leaning in to look at it, and we thought it would be better if it made it look more like she was anticipating something scary, because you still think she's just like a witch making a potion.
Okay.
So that's the reason that is sort of pasted over.
You can still have her kind of behind, like as an overlay underlay. The angle's not bad, where you're not seeing into the pot, but I would still have her as an underlay, but her hands are clear over the thing doing ha 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 ha. So she's not direct profile, she's more 3/4 at you still. Because I like the 3/4 that you had her before. You're just changing, you're just dropping the camera and you're putting her behind, but you're clearing her hands above the pot, even though she's behind the pot. And it's a 3/4 upshot, slight upshot is what you were doing here for this angle. So this is great. When you do the animation, keep the body as a single. animate the hands. Don't worry about animating all the other stuff because you're not going to have a lot of time. So this is a part where you're just, again, a cycle. and it's going to be the expression, right? So make a strong pose, strong expression, and just cycle the hands. Again, with this, you can add effects here and continue those effects into here while she's doing her hands. Again, you have an opportunity in this animation where you can do a simple, you can do a cushion because you're using Toon Boom. So those are things that you can do there. And then again, with this, you could have that single body with the arms on a separate layer. As she's turning, you can have her body as a separate element kind of shifting back and forth slightly. And then that kind of reacts to her arm movement. That's going to be a separate element keyframed. Does that make sense? She does that. It just goes blah, blah, blah. Maybe, she's anticipating going blah, 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 and then it just goes pop. To kind of enhance the idea that she's
over. Yeah, I like that.
That it's like, oh, it's gonna work, and it's boop. And she's like, oh, she's like, ah, right? That will help sell this pose that she's upset. What you could do to help with this little that's coming up, because it's kind of competing with the same concept you had previously, which is the bubble, then nothing. Now you're doing a fizzle, but it's sort of still the same beat. It's not building up higher. Like every time you do something, you want to raise the stakes a little bit more, I feel like, especially in a short amount of time. The key thing, guys, to this peeps artists to economize on time and effort is you don't always have to, every time you do a cut, it has to have a selling point. There has to be a story to it. There's a reason why you're doing it. If you're doing it because you think it's cool, then you got to rethink, is that necessary to have that? Like, I don't think it's necessary to have that. I think it's okay to have longer shots if you have a cool environment and a cool staging where the camera is, that gives you options for cool opportunities. When I was on Pen Zero, one of the biggest notes that I got as a story artist was, we don't have time to do a new layout for every shot. So if there's a way that I could storyboard so that I'm reusing one layout 4 different times, then they'll love me forever.
Yeah, well, thank you, Team East. You guys are doing great.
Great job, by the way. It's very clear, very, very clear. I like the concept. I understand that. I hope that all of this stuff that I'm telling you is all positive stuff. Make it your own. Take our notes, but make it your own.
All right, you guys. Thanks a lot. Let's get Team West going back here.
Take care, guys.
All right, man. Thank you. Very helpful.
Thanks, Travis.
All right, so let's see. Who is going to show off the animatic? Travis, did you download all that stuff?
It looks like I downloaded it. What we did the last time, guys, is that our artists, I should refrain. I don't know. Is saying guys appropriate anymore? I have no idea.
I say guys.
Yeah.
I say dudes too.
Dudes.
Yeah.
So for this, what we did last time is I played it on my end. It seemed to play really well. So you guys can watch and we'll just talk through it.
Okay.
Now, is there animation on this one you said to look at?
Yeah. Along with the storyboard,
As well?
yes, we have some.
Okay. Okay, great. By the way, this is really enjoyable. I enjoyed talking to the rest team, and I hope you guys get an opportunity to not just, what a rare opportunity is to have to be able to be put together, not knowing each other before, and creating new relationships, new friendships. And I hope you guys get an opportunity to really kind of talk to the other team as well after all of this, because I think it's important that we all kind of unite together as artists. Put West Coast and East Coast together, all because of Crunch. All right.
Crunch Studios.
Crunch Studios. Reimagined. All right, I'm sharing the screen here. Hold on a second. Okay. All right, let's do this. I'm just going to play it. Here we go.
Okay.
Cute. So it's kind of reminds me of similar to what Mike you had did for a concept you did a little while ago that you shared with me, where it's kids playing and you don't know it's kids playing until the very end. Which
that worked for Toon Boom. That was the Race Around the Moon. Yeah, it was
the Race Around the Moon.
Rather similar concept, but this I think is a very effective little bit of story.
It is very effective. What I like is that you have a solid storytelling. You know, you have 45 seconds to kind of tell some kind of story. Now, my only question to you is I get that it's a dog-like character who's protecting this child. The question is, what is the overall concept, or what is the selling point that you're trying to get at the end? Is it just a moment in time where they're just playing, they're playing cute together, or what is the thing that he's fighting with at the end? Is it a dish?
It's a Roomba.
Yeah.
It's a Roomba. Okay. All right. So that is I get it now. All right. It's hard to read. It's hard to understand that's a Roomba. I'm trying to think. One of the things that helps sell, and Mike could have a little bit of say in this too, because you know he's had the same creative storytelling problems that you guys are running across, which is how do I clearly translate what was from fantasy to reality so that the action feels similar to what's happening in the previous moments. So it's really just a matter of how can we sell this shot that I'm looking at right now better so that it transitions? Because I feel like you have a lot more opportunity to, in this shot here, to make the robot feel like it's like a Roomba, even though it's a robot, so that it's like scanning the room. You know, it breaks through the room. It's like stop, and then sees them. You know what I mean? It's like a Roomba does this. How does our robot, that's a really cool robot, have similar? Because you're accentuating the fantasy element of what a Roomba is in this world, in this imaginary world. I love like this whole setup is great. You know, it's sort of like an anime style. All of this works great leading up to this. And then I would get him a step further in this shot. And honestly, I would have him go clear, almost like you see full view of him in this shot. So you see the perspective change of him going closer to this big door. And then the door is like, poof, poof, starts to open in this shot so that it cuts better when it goes here and you see him flying back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're seeing him kind of going a little bit more further in the other shot previously, just as it's about to explode open, then you do the cut, then you go into this explosion, you see him fly back with, you know, through the trail of smoke and fall to the ground. Or I think it's okay to have him right where the shadow is of the Roomba's head, because then you're selling the point that the eye is leading to the shadow. You want the audience to kind of be impactful on the shadow. The shadow is also illustrating the point that it's dominant, and he's the little person, and this creature is like the violent dominant one.
Well,
and
there
so
is one story point that I would like to bring up in that, Travis, is that
Yes.
with him over to the side, he is now out of the way and is no longer the guardian. That's the one story point that's where I would say stick up for this particular composition is now his path is uninhibited to his quarry, the princess.
I totally understand, Mike, what you're saying, and I get that. I'm just wondering if there's a way maybe to balance it out, to have him more fall over to either stage it to where the shadow is bigger, and so you're filling up more space, and he could still be where he's at, but we create the shadow so that it fills up more of the screen and the doorway, so it feels a little bit more balanced. The shadow should be more dominant, especially since we're animating him. Make that shadow bigger, make him feel really ominous. Yeah, because I like all of the stuff that you're doing. It's just what's going to make this more impactful, what's going to make it more really like raise the stakes here, because you're cutting from that to this, which is really like, see how this is like there's a balance. There's an actually really nice balance. It's upper thirds where the light is. It's not dead center, but he's taking up the majority of the left half of the space because you're doing a left to right screen kind of scenario. So this is great. I think in this, again, instead of going straight towards, I think you have enough time where it's just sitting there. And I would take some of the time that you're using for here, because you have a lot of dead time here, right? He's just looking at him, yay, all of that. I think you could take some time away from that area, throw it to the beginning to build up the character of the villain, which is the Roomba, right?
Hey, Travis.
Add to, yes.
Let's go back to that POV shot where the Roomba rushes in.
Yeah, let's go to this one right here.
I think here you could even have like the overlay, it says and then
Yeah, that's awesome.
and then that would motivate the push in that you've got here. And that would be something that would be very, very relatively easy to do in the animation process.
So with Mike saying
she's actively being targeted.
Anyways, there's lots of ways you can play with the graphics. And I think when he knocks it back, I think you can even play a little bit more, add a little bit more time to this shot. Here, what does a Roomba do when it hits something? It kind of goes, and it's jostled a little bit. I think you could have a moment of being off balance with the Roomba in this shot, then cut back to him looking back at her going, yay, yeah.
Restabilizes itself.
It restabilizes itself. So you have you can add a little bit more time to that, because right now, all of these shots, you have a lot of dead space that doesn't require it to be too long. And then what you would hear, I guess what I'm assuming is here, you hearing something in the background, you have one of two choices. You hear it, and then that's what causes him to do this. And you reveal him there, which you have here. You could even show a little bit of the underlay of the bottom part of the robot's head. Like you have an opportunity here, not just to show legs, but you could be underneath the robot and showing just as upper left corner, just a slightly the round part of him looking up underneath him. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, he hits him. He goes flying back, kind of maybe even flies back and hits the corner of the door there, loses his balance a little bit, then bounces over to this way, loses balance, and then kind of adding one more little beat in here where he's kind of settling himself up, like he's kind of settling in, cut back to him. And then you hear, he goes, he looks, pull out from that same shot, don't do a cut, do a pull out to reveal the light a light, Rumba light, laser light targeting right on his head. Even you can even have his new target is now this guy in the laser light, because that's what they do. They use infrared lighting for the Roombas. And then you can have, you know, maybe show a little bit more, and then he just takes in, shoots off. As soon as he shoots off, that same sort of, because it's lower on the lower bottom there.
I think here's a good choice for an anime shot of one. You know, you could even do like the split screen where one of them's coming in from the left, one of them's coming in from the right, and the two things sort of merge. I think you guys had a shot similar to that earlier, where the two things were coming in as, you know, opposed to one another. And then you can cut to this because you have evil coming from left, good coming from right, and then they meet in the middle here. And I would even want to like raise this composition up slightly to accommodate that sort of feeling, you know?
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. So hold on, let me, you can see this. So essentially, for this shot, you know, I was saying, you know, having the perspective of the Roomba, and then having that sort of composition where, you know, the character's here, and then she's in the background right here, right? Okay, yeah, you could literally have like a red shining on them, right?
Or even just like some sort of sensor on the bottom of it that you can have blink.
Yeah, blinking, like
Beep,
right
beep, beep,
there.
beep, beep. Yeah, you can just call back that beep, 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 beep.
And then, oh, I love how, you know, I don't use TV, sorry, Two Moon that often, but I'm having fun with this. Let's see here.
Infinite canvas, man. It's
and so what you can do here is, you know, he goes to do his charge, you know, how he's doing his charge, shoots forward, then we see this thing, you know, shoot forward, shoots forward that way, and then you cut to that split screen where it's, you know, this guy, this one going this way with the light on it, you know, speed lines, and you get speed lines going this way with the dog.
Oh, a close up. I like that.
You know, like this. And then they're going, and then when you cut to that last shot, you're building up, then it's just like, you know, the dog like jumping around this room that's going, right?
And Travis is going to do the dog voice for you guys, so just so you know.
Yeah, VR voice.
Oh. So essentially you could do you could literally do a shot like right here where the dog is just sort of like, and I would do almost this kind of angle.
They actually have a shot very similar to that, Travis.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, just bring it up and just have it so that it's what Mike was saying. The note was bring it up. Don't have it so low to the ground. Bring it up almost close to center. Like it's just, this is our kind of our, you know, area that we're looking at. You know, this is dead center. You know, compositionally keeping it like there around in this area. Where the Roomba is, I think would work great.
Hey, why don't you show him that one scene that you guys had animated?
It's
Yeah.
in the folder.
All right, so I mean, if you wanted to, you could basically tie in. You could use this shot and just add what I have in there, right? This is the final shot, right? So you could literally cut from the two things, you know, the split screen to this shot, but having a little bit more of him running around it, then jumping on it, and then looking back at, you know, hooking into this, what you already have. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's gonna
Mike, what do you think?
Awesome. Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
I think if you guys have time for it, great. You know, make
if
sure
you
that
don't
you're
have time for it,
managing your time
great.
for the film as a whole. But yeah, let's get Team East back here, and we'll cap this
All right,
off
real
nicely.
quick before Team East. Again, with this, what I said with Team East is make this your own. Take the notes that you have. Figure out what is going to make sense for priority. Like I said, I think it's important to take a little bit of time from the end of it to add a little bit more character to your robot. And then if you have time to do the split screen, which doesn't take a lot, I'd say yes. I see the quality that you're doing here for your final shot looks fantastic. But you're not going to always be able to have a lot of time to do a lot of the other shots similar. So keep limited animation with certain shots, and then focus on the most important ones, like this end shot that you're doing, which I think is smart. You've already started building it out. Other than that, it looks great. I hope the notes helped, and you guys are on the track of something really nice here. So congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you.
we have a lot.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, and I called for Team East to come on back, and they're starting to come back now.
Hi, Travis.
So much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Sorry I kept it so long, Mike. Bye. I know you're busy. Bye.
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 Have a good day.
Today was good. It has been quite an eventful day. We were hoping to get the animatic done yesterday, and we actually got it done today, which is nice.
I think I'm finally done with the first layout. I've been working on this for so long, and I'm just ready to be done and move on to something else. So
Yeah, I'm kind of exhausted, to be honest.
This morning was kind of rough and a little discouraging. We had, like, last night we kind of all had a meeting and gone like, all right, we're kind of cool with everything animatic wise. Everyone kind of get some rest. And then this morning we got a bunch of like edits kind of 30 minutes before the meeting. So us kind of rushing to kind of get that was a little discouraging, and not having it kind of ready was a little rough. Just a bunch of like conflicts of ideas.
I feel like we're all kind of frustrated that we're not farther along than we were. So like, I think it's not as good as it was like on the first day, but I do think that we're still working together, and I think that we're coming to conclusions that are best for the project.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a little bit like tensions are a little bit high on Team East right now, just with like decision making and having to redo stuff a little bit. But I think all in all, everyone is enjoying themselves and trying to make something like awesome that they're proud of. Like that's the only reason that we're like sort of like clashing heads, because it's like, oh, I have this idea to make it great, and then part of you is like, yeah, I want to do it, and part of you is like 45 seconds and a week. You know what I mean? There's like got to be a little bit of compromise that everyone's making. So
I kind of feel like I'm being ignored a lot in my group. Like, even though we have a good thing going on, like when we started having ideas together, like everybody was putting inputs from here and there, it was all good. Like everybody was listening to everyone because were new things coming on. But I believe since we got to revisions, everything that I suggest, they usually say something like, yo, we don't have time for this. Yo, no, we cannot do this.
It really flared because we would get input so late about stuff we agreed on so much earlier, like 2 or 3 days ago, and suddenly it's cheap to do it, it's too much like this, and then it's not like we're not listening, but sometimes we need to think of animating for, like, I've always thought animating for a general audience, and then for the team, because we have to be able to all replicate it kind of seamlessly so that it looks like one person did it when it's like 5 people doing it.
I could be wrong. Like, I mean, of course I make mistakes. Probably I said something, I did something that probably I shouldn't have done in some particular moment. Probably one idea that I had wasn't the best one, but I swear to God, I'm always doing what I think is best for the short.
I think it's kind of making us not be as efficient as we could be, just because, again, like everyone has different ideas of what would be the best thing to do. So like some people might want to keep changing things or fixing things, and then other people think that we just need to move on and keep working. But I think that we just need to meet in the middle and just keep going, because that's the only way that we're going to make progress.
Oh, I think we're doing pretty good. I think morale kind of went down after like some of the critiques, but I think as we go to day 4, we're used to getting critique now, so it's like we're in the zone. We know like, oh, if we get some negative comments, it's not the end of the world. We can just make slight changes and try to address them as best we can.
I feel like we got a good chunk done today, and I know I say that every day, but today especially.
I think it's going pretty well. I think after seeing the first shot animated, I think that boosted us a little bit more. And then seeing it with the environment later too has even helped. Every time we see it more and more build up, I think that's pushing us further and further. So that's nice.
Just like for me personally, I'm kind of a very visual learner. So if I see somebody do a technique that I like and I find interesting, I'll usually like copy that into my work, just like right off the bat, if I just try it out, you know? So being exposed to all these like other animators and artists in my team, they all have different like methods that I find are really fun to try out. So I think I've learned a lot from them personally, which I think is great because I haven't taken an animation class before, except for in high school. If you're going hard every day, you can do it.